Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 24 ranked wide receivers for Yahoo Best Ball. Yahoo Best Ball uses the half PPR format, so these are going to be my top 24 half PPR wide receivers. But before we get on in to the breakdown of these wide receivers, I'd like to ask if you are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below. It helps us out a ton. But before we get on in to the breakdown of these top 24 Yahoo wide receivers, I would like to give you guys a quick word from Yahoo Best Ball themselves. You guys have probably played in a Yahoo Fantasy Football league before, but if you haven't tried their Best Ball, then you are missing out. With leagues ranging from free to $500, Yahoo has Best Ball leagues for every type of player. Use our Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit with your Yahoo Best Ball entries to give yourself the best chance to win. Head over after you're done watching this video and get started drafting a team within minutes again on Yahoo Best Ball. Make sure you guys check them out. So now into my top 10 rankings. Then we're going to do wide receivers 11 through 20 and then wide receivers 21 through 24. So starting off at number 1, we have Davante Adams, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers. Now, there's certainly an argument to be made that Stefon Diggs could be the number 1 wide receiver or that Tyreek Hill could be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football, but to me, it's basically splitting hairs. It does not really matter at the end of the day. If you get either of these 3 wide receivers, you can expect top-end production. Davante Adams is my number 1 overall guy because I believe with Aaron Rodgers in this offense, there's really no downside to Davante Adams. This is going to be a team that is scoring a bunch of points. Davante Adams could be seeing over a 30+% target share of this offense in the red zone. He is also used very heavily, despite the fact that Aaron Jones scores so many touchdowns year in and year out. Davante Adams is still able to find his way into the end zone. I wouldn't be surprised if Davante Adams finished number 1 in all categories: targets, receptions, receiving yards, as well as in touchdowns. The Green Bay Packers are just such a good team that it seems almost inevitable that Davante Adams could be and will be the number 1 overall wide receiver for fantasy football in 2021. At number 2, we have Stefon Diggs, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills. Now, like I just said, with Adams, with Diggs, with Tyreek Hill, it is basically splitting hairs. I got Stefon Diggs at number 2, and it is a very similar case you can be making for all 3 of these wide receivers. Stefon Diggs is on a team that is supposed to be really fucking good. He has a really good quarterback. He is the number 1 target in this offense, and the plays are getting designed to give the ball to Stefon Diggs. Whether it's a short slant for Stefon Diggs or deep down the field, he can catch everything. And with Josh Allen in the pigskin, I believe that Stefon Diggs will finish as the number 2 wide receiver on Yahoo Best Ball. At number 3, we have Tyreek Hill, wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. And just like with Adams, just like with Diggs, you make the argument that this guy can be number 1 because he's on that great offense. He has the great coaching. He has the great quarterback. And Tyreek Hill is one of those wide receivers that is truly game-breaking for fantasy football. It's very hard to find a wide receiver that on any given week could get over 150 yards and score multiple touchdowns. And it wouldn't even surprise me if he did that 4 or 5 times during the season. Tyreek Hill is just always open. Patrick Mahomes is always able to hit him deep down the field. Unless there is an injury to any of these guys, Davante Adams, Stefon Diggs, or Tyreek Hill, or unless their quarterback was to get hurt, it would be shocking if they fell outside the top 5 at the wide receiver position. At number 4, we have Calvin Ridley, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons. Calvin Ridley would be my best bet outside the top 3 to finish as the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy football. From a sheer volume standpoint in Atlanta, they lose Julio, but guess what? Calvin Ridley was really good last year with Julio. He was really good without. Kyle Pitts is there to fill some sort of a void in this offense. I think Russell Gage fits in well as the wide receiver number 2 on the team, so I think Calvin Ridley is sitting pretty here as my wide receiver number 4, and I wouldn't be shocked if he finished as the number 1 overall player. At number 5, we have DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, it doesn't matter at all where the fuck he is. He could be in Arizona, he could be in Houston, he could be on any team. DeAndre Hopkins is a monster for fantasy football. Kyler Murray clearly knows that, as he was feeding him the rock all of last season. Sadly, when they're in the red zone, they do like to run the ball a lot, so that does somewhat limit DeAndre Hopkins' upside from the touchdown standpoint, but overall as a player, DeAndre Hopkins is very good, and if you have him outside the top 5 of your rankings, to me, that is a bit of a risk. At number 6, we have Justin Jefferson, wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson had an all-time rookie season last year. The guy got out the gate pretty slow, but by week 3, he started really turning it on, and he never really looked back. This year, Irv Smith got hurt, and Irv Smith was one of my favorite late round tight end targets. I really heavily believed in Irv Smith, but now with Irv Smith gone, who I thought was going to really suck up a lot of these touchdowns in the red zone, I think the upside for Justin Jefferson just got even higher, and Adam Thielen scored so many touchdowns last year that I believe that number is going to go down, and with Irv Smith not being there, I think Justin Jefferson might have a chance to score a shit ton of touchdowns this season. At number 7, we have A.J. Brown, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. Now, I know a lot of people don't love A.J. Brown because, oh, Nick, Julio Jones is there. Maybe I don't want to be fully invested in A.J. Brown, and I understand that from a thought process standpoint. But then when you really put your thinking cap on, you really start to think about it. A.J. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and put up big numbers last year despite not being number 1, number 5 in targets. He doesn't need to get a lot of targets to be successful in this offense. They trade for Julio Jones, sure. But at the end of the day, A.J. Brown is a good enough of a player on a good enough of a team to be able to sustain top-tier production regardless of how good Julio Jones does or how bad Julio Jones does. We're going to be talking about Julio Jones in a couple of minutes. And spoiler alert, I really like Julio Jones this season. At number 8, we have Keenan Allen, wide receiver of the LA Chargers. His nickname should be Sweet Feet because this man runs the crispiest of routes in the National Football League. Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert is a combo like peanut butter and jelly. Keenan Allen is going to have a big year this season. I believe the LA Chargers offense is going to be firing at all cylinders after they fired that certified bozo, Anthony Lynn. I think the upside here for Keenan Allen is a top 5 wide receiver based upon the amount of volume he gets in this offense. At number 9, we have Allen Robinson, wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears is not necessarily a team that you would want to love having a wide receiver on, but eventually Andy Dalton is not going to be the starting quarterback there. How long is it going to take for Justin Fields to take over? I'm not too sure. I wouldn't tell you that it's going to be after game 1. It'll probably be a couple of games into the season, but I think eventually Matt Nagy is going to turn to Justin Fields as the starting quarterback, and that in itself really upgrades the amount of upside Allen Robinson has. Allen Robinson has been very successful in his career with quarterbacks the likes of Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, so I'm sure he'll be just fine with Andy Dalton and potentially be a bigger upgrade with Justin Fields under center. At number 10, we have CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, CeeDee Lamb is a very, very, very hot topic at this point in fantasy football. Everyone loves these younger players. They want to go out and get CeeDee Lamb because of the fact that he played really well last year and that Dak is healthy. And I completely agree with all those things. I think CeeDee Lamb is an extremely talented wide receiver. He's on a team that is going to be very, very pass heavy, but just temper your expectations slightly and don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Amari Cooper outscores him. Now, I have CeeDee Lamb ranked above Amari Cooper by a couple of spots, so clearly I like CeeDee Lamb better, but just don't be surprised if Amari Cooper really just stomps on a potential elite season from CeeDee Lamb, but I do expect CeeDee Lamb to see a lot more targets this year, and with Dak Prescott healthy, with a shitty defense, with them having to throw the ball so much, I think CeeDee Lamb really does have top 5 upside this season. But before we get into wide receivers 11 through 20, I would like to let you guys know that the Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit is available for season-long and best ball fantasy leagues. The same projections, tools, and analysis that we use in NFL DFS goes into this package, which includes our draft wingman, best ball rankings and stacking guide, trade value chart, and so much more. You'll also receive up to $35 in credits for Underdog and FFPC leagues. You can get this package for 33% off when you use promo code WINYOURLEAGUE. Again, promo code WINYOURLEAGUE at checkout in all caps. That's less than $10 for everything we have to offer for season long and best ball. Just go ahead and click the link in the description of this video and activate the offer. Again, promo code WINYOURLEAGUE for 33% off. Back into it. Wide receiver number 11 is DK Metcalf. Now, a lot of people really like DK Metcalf this season, and I understand it. This guy is a brolic man. He's huge. He literally looks like he was constructed in a lab, but I believe that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be a much more run-heavy team this season compared to last year. We saw down the stretch of the season when the Seattle Seahawks defense looked a lot better, that they were looking to run the ball more, and they were not letting Russell Wilson cook it up. And while everyone is clamoring to let Russ cook again in 2021, I'm just not too sure that that is peak Pete Carroll's plan, and that is going to severely limit the upside of DK Metcalf. And last year, when Metcalf did really good, Lockett didn't do so good in those games. And when Lockett did really good, Metcalf didn't do too good in those games. And if Lockett is to get slightly more consistent, I think DK Metcalf struggles in that way as well. At number 12, we have F1 Scary Terry McLaurin, wide receiver of the Washington football team. I love Terry McLaurin this year because of the change at the quarterback position. Last year, it was a complete and utter carousel at quarterback for the football team. But now with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center, who normally has a liking to locking onto one wide receiver on the team, we saw it in 2019 with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Davante Parker in Miami. I think we see the exact same thing here with Fitz and Terry McLaurin. We saw it a decent amount in the preseason action, or the little amount of preseason action that Fitz and Terry McLaurin played. I really do like Mr. Terry McLaurin this season. At number 13, we have Robert Woods, wide receiver of the LA Rams. I believe Matthew Stafford is going to take this team into the next gear. Now, Robert Woods has been very, very safe the last couple of years, despite not having the greatest of quarterback play, like I said before. I think Matthew Stafford is really going to upgrade this offense severely, and I think that will help out Robert Woods a ton here at wide receiver 13. At number 14, we have Julio Jones, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. Now, Julio Jones continues to get drafted outside of the top 18 at the wide receiver position, which makes absolutely zero fucking sense. Sure, he's on a team that's not as pass heavy as the Atlanta Falcons. Everyone knows that, but he is still in a situation where he can succeed very easily. You can't double cover AJ Brown because guess what? Julio Jones is open. You can't double cover Julio because guess what? Now AJ Brown is wide open, and you can't stack the box because then the receivers are open. But then if you don't stack the box, Derrick Henry is going to run all over you. This is an offense that I believe is going to be dangerous like Russell Wilson in 2021, and I expect Julio Jones to be a very big part of this. They wouldn't have traded for Julio Jones if they thought he was washed up. There's no injury concerns with Julio Jones, so continue to draft him with faith as a potential top 12 wide receiver. At number 15, we have Amari Cooper, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. While I do expect CeeDee Lamb to take that big leap up like I just discussed before, when we were talking about CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper is getting a little bit discredited in my opinion, since it's very clear that maybe he won't be the number one target there, but the number two target in Dallas is going to be seeing so much work in this offense because of how pass heavy this team is going to be, and I believe that Amari Cooper is a solid wide receiver 2 this season. At number 16, I have Deontay Johnson, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, either you're with me or you're against me with Deontay Johnson, but it does appear more recently that a lot more people are getting on the Deontay Johnson bandwagon. He's the clear number one target from Big Ben in this offense. He was force-fed last season despite dropping the ball left and right in games. Didn't make a single dropped pass inside of the preseason. I believe Deontay Johnson worked on that, and he was getting benched last season because he was dropping the ball. So imagine now he doesn't get benched and he's getting a similar amount of targets and he's catching the ball more. Then the upside of Deontay Johnson is basically unmatched in the range where he's going. At number 17 and 18, we have the tandem of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The reason why I have them a bit lower than consensus is because I feel like with Antonio Brown healthy for the whole year and how Tampa Bay Tom Brady kind of runs this offense, he likes to throw the ball around. He likes to share the load. He throws the ball to whoever is open, and with Antonio Brown there, with so many weapons there, with Gronk as well, I just feel as though maybe one of these guys is going to end up getting left out. That's kind of why I like taking the upside shot on Antonio Brown a little bit later, because I feel like his value is better than Evans and Chris Godwin. At number 19, we have Wiki DJ Moore, wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers. Now, DJ Moore is an extremely and uber talented wide receiver. The issue with him is that this motherfucker is allergic to scoring touchdowns. It has been evident throughout his NFL career. Could things change this year with mono man Sam Darnold? Maybe, but if he gets over 1,000 yards and scores like 5 touchdowns, that he's probably not going to be able to crack the top 12, but if he's able to up his touchdowns to like 8 or 9, he does have top 12 potential at the wide receiver position, but I'm not too sure that's in the cards for DJ Moore. Number 20, we have Cooper Kupp, wide receiver of the LA Rams. While I have Robert Woods ranked a healthy bit above Cooper Kupp at this point, I still believe Cooper Kupp is a very solid wide receiver. I compare those two to the Detroit Lions offense in 2019 with Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, and Matthew Stafford. The reason why I do that is because Matthew Stafford is now the quarterback of the Rams. I believe Kenny Galladay's comparison would be Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp's comparison is Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones was very, very good that season, and I believe Cooper Kupp has the exact same upside as Marvin Jones, if not, maybe even better with much superior play calling under Sean McVay. Now onto wide receivers 21 through 24, but before we get on in to talking about them, I would like to let you guys know that college football has kicked off, and we have launched our inaugural college football DFS package. Use promo code TAILGATE to get $10 off your first week of Awesemo plus college football, which includes our own player projections, ownership projections, matchup data, and more. You can activate the promo code by clicking the link in the description of this video. The offer is good through Saturday, September the 4th. On to wide receivers 21 through 24. At number 21, we have Adam Thielen, wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Adam Thielen basically scored so many points last year because of the touchdowns that I talked about earlier with Justin Jefferson. I predict that the touchdown number is going to go lower, which will knock Adam Thielen back to around the 20 to 24 range at the wide receiver position. Does that make him a bad pick? No, because with the injury of Irv Smith, maybe he's able to not score as many as he scored last year, but sustain a number maybe around 7 touchdowns, and then he's still a very, very solid wide receiver for fantasy football in 2021. Despite the fact that not too many people like Kirk Cousins, he's still able to sustain wide receivers pretty well in this Minnesota Vikings offense. At number 22, we have Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. Tyler Lockett is a strictly upside draft spot. When you draft Tyler Lockett, you're basically just rooting for the 4 or 5 upside weeks to hit, where this motherfucker drops like 30 plus points in the game and completely wins you your week. But then there's the other weeks where this guy's snoozing. He's not putting up really any points. So that's the kind of risk you take when you draft Tyler Lockett. But if he gets more consistent this season, then Tyler Lockett would have been a steal at 22. At number 23, we have Kenny Golladay, wide receiver of the New York Football Giants. While I worry about Daniel Jones, the health situation there for Kenny Golladay has gotten better as he has been practicing recently, which is music to my ears. I hate the Giants offense. I hate Daniel Jones, but at the end of the day, he's the number 1 wide receiver in New York. They backed up a Brinks truck to give him all this money. They're going to throw him the ball. And at number 24, closing out the top 24, we got Mr. T. Higgins, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins is looking to elevate himself to be the clear number 1 target in Cincinnati. I believe with Jamar Chase struggling in preseason, struggling in training camp, this is very, very good news for T. Higgins in an offense that's going to be passing the ball a lot. Even if Jamar Chase was to surpass him in targets midway through the season, I still think T. Higgins has a lot of value due to how much this team threw the ball last year with Joe Burrow under center and how much I project them to throw the ball in 2021. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, we're putting out this content every single day. Make sure, again, that you guys check out Yahoo Best Ball. The link to all this stuff will be down below in the description. I love you guys. Follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. Love you guys, as always. Goodbye.